Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar today. With every webinar, if there are any technical problems, feel free to chat with us and let us know. We want to make sure that you guys can see and hear everything that we're going to talk about. My name is Mike Staffy. I'm from Belfield, and I'd like to introduce Brad from eBillingHub.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about time entry compliance for improved billing accuracy. So we have a lot of fun stuff to share with you guys, but essentially what this means is that we're trying to use the newest technology to pull together the attorney and time entry with accounting and billing and the needs of your clients. So why don't we go ahead and start? So I just touched base on this, but essentially, you see on this slide, we have attorneys and finance department working together, and there's a question mark there, and we're implying that this isn't something that typically happens, but we're going to change that. So we're going to dig into this problem more specifically, but there's a disconnect between the attorneys and the finance department, and this is what creates the timeline that's long and inefficient. So let's start at the very beginning of this inefficiency. Time entry is completely disconnected from the billing rules. The way that things are right now, and we'll show you examples of this, is that the attorney's making a time entry, and when they make that entry, it goes off to billing, and accounting is responsible for doing what they do, and they send it off to the client. There's no connection from what the client needs back to the attorney, and specifically where that connection is broken is at the time entry process. The attorney's involvement in this system is where they enter their time. So if there's no connection there between the time entry and the billing process and the billing rules, then you're going to have problems. So the biggest challenges in time entry are, and this is obvious probably to everyone on the call, but attorneys don't enter their time. There's lack of compliance with the firm's policies. We have reconstructive time entry, and then we have leak time. So the biggest problem here is the attorney's not entering their time. If we can't get them to enter their time, then of course all these other problems are going to happen. Now, if we can get the attorneys to enter their time, if we can give them the right tools to get their time in, then we can eliminate some of these other problems. We can get rid of the reconstructive time entry. If we can get them to enter their time contemporaneously, then we're not going to have a reconstructive time entry problem. Now, this does solve the problem of leak time, where if we're doing it contemporaneously and they can enter their time, we're not going to have leak time. But it doesn't solve the problem of the compliance with the firm's policies or the write-offs. So just by getting the attorneys to enter their time, however you would do that, doesn't solve all of these problems. And that's what we're going to talk about today, how with the right tools and the right technology, we can solve all of these, starting at time entry, but obviously affecting all of the problems mentioned.
Hey, Mike, can I jump in real quick? We've got a question about could you clarify what you mean by leaked time?
Great question. So leak time is time that you should be recording, but you're not. So a great example that I always talk about is if you read an email and it takes you 6 minutes to read that email, that's a 0.1. Are your attorneys logging all they read? I mean, that's work that they're doing for the client. And the answer is probably no. I mean, maybe they're reconstructing that and adding it in later, but essentially, time that you're not logging is leaked time.
So the problem we see as well here, of course, is with our attorneys getting their time in. Maybe it's not compliant. It is one of the first places we start to see issues with e-billing. So how many of your timekeepers today know the specific billing guidelines for each one of your clients that they represent? What if we can correct that issue? Wouldn't it save a lot of time dealing with incorrect bills and rejections if the time entries were compliant at the time they were submitted? Give me the next slide there, Scott, Mike. So we also know e-billing is getting more complex. It's no wonder that they probably have a hard time knowing what the specific billing guidelines are because we know we've got 37 commercial e-billing vendors. We've got over 65 custom systems. These are the ones where the corporations develop their own in-house portal for you to use. As a percentage, we're seeing more of the invoices now from a firm standpoint being e-billed, so it's up to 24 and a higher percent of revenue. We're also noticing that there's an increase year over year. 30% increase is what our clients are telling us, and this is not just through increased number of e-bills going out, which it may be, but as well from clients who are requesting now that you have to e-bill them. And I have a really good example of that. I had a client last year that called me. They were doing about 200 e-bills a month. CFO picked up the phone. He said, "Hey, Brad, our biggest client just said you have 30 days to start e-billing us, and that's going to add an additional 800 e-bills to our total." So they went from 200 to 1,000 literally overnight. Luckily, they were using the hub, so they were automated. Really wasn't a big hurdle for them. He did tell me, though, that if they wouldn't have had the hub, there would have been probably no way they would have been able to get those bills out the door, get people hired within that 1 month time frame. And, of course, we know the steps to process are more as well. But there is an impact both on revenue and cash flow. Our clients, before they used the hub, they're saying it was taking them 14 days longer to get paid. 44% of bills were reduced or rejected, and 2.7% were written off. So, and these are average numbers. I speak with firms every single day, and those who are still struggling to get e-billing out, maybe who are still doing it manually, they're saying that their numbers are sometimes double, what we're showing here on this screen. So again, what is it costing your firm? Here's another way to look at some of the impacts on both cash flow and revenue. So we've got 44% rejected or reduced invoices. There it goes. And we see a 25% delay in collections. And collections is a big issue that I hear about often. In fact, probably the most common thing that I hear is we're having trouble getting invoices submitted in a timely manner. So even having time to follow up on late pays is really more of a wish right now today than it is a reality. And again, as we're sending more of our revenue electronically, that 3% of write-offs can start to add up pretty quickly. So our collection realization, here's what it looks like for law firms over the last few years. About a 9% decrease since 2007, and we know that the increased complexity of e-billing is a big contributor to these declining values as well. Now, this motley-looking slide here is really kind of showing you a picture of e-billing in a firm that's still manual. They haven't automated. The way it's broken down, if you see here at the bottom, we've got these different colored squares are our clients. So our clients are coming in and they're saying you get to use Bottom Line or DataCert or Serengeti. They're picking the vendor for you. You usually don't have a whole lot of say in that matter. The reason these boxes are different colors, we may have 3 clients with Serengeti, but because they all have slightly different billing guidelines, we almost have to treat them as completely different clients. So then we see our billing staff, and these lines are representing, they may be working with several different vendors, multiple different clients, and we see them start to develop, spreadsheets or notebooks full of how-tos. How do we get these bills out the door? And that's pretty important, especially from a management standpoint, because if, Bob the biller wins the lottery or Betty, for whatever reason, leaves the firm, how are we going to get these invoices out the door? Are we hunting around on their computer for Post-it notes trying to figure that out? So it does make sense to have an automated system. And then, so you got all this stuff going, and then you still have maybe a new client that comes in. Next month another client says, hey, you guys won the lottery, you get to start e-billing us. Now we have to go out and create new templates, and we even have additional bills that we have to get out the door. So again, automated system can make a lot of sense for growth as well as the continued support of just your monthly e-billing. So one reason firms are automating e-billing, besides the confusion of what we just looked at, is that every time a bill is rejected, it adds an additional 11 days to get payment. And that's for each rejection. So if you have an invoice that gets rejected multiple times, it doesn't take long for this to really start to add up. What we recommend to our firms as a best practice is to have your biller own the client from start to finish, because each handoff typically results in about a 10% increase in potential rejections. So why are invoices being rejected? We've got several reasons. Invoice data, timekeeper information, client matter setup. But again, I think the key here is what if we could prevent these at the time entry stage of the process? We can put many of these potential rejection reasons into the billing guidelines so that they can be discovered and corrected before the invoice is ever sent to the billing department and then on to your vendors and clients. Our top 9 stop words, as they come up on the screen here. Again, these are words that are typically going to trigger a rejection with most of the e-billing vendors out there. And these are preventable errors that, we can add in at the time entry step to not only help prevent them, but also to help educate your timekeepers and reduce potential rejections as well.
Great. Thanks, Brad. And, at this point, it's safe to acknowledge that eBillingHub does a great job of pulling these compliances in, but again, the problem here is that when these entries are made, they're not being caught until they get back to the accounting and billing side of the firm. So what we're going to show you later is how we can catch these entries at the point of time entry, and we're going to do it exactly with that word right there, research. So when bad news early is good news. So real-time compliance bridges the gap by presenting bad news early enough so that it's actually good news. So essentially meaning that if we can catch these problems the second that they happened rather than later, we're going to be able to save ourselves a lot of time, a lot of resources, and a lot of money. So that's the question. Can we bridge the gap? Can we bridge the gap between time entry and when this validation is actually happening? And of course, the reason we're here today is that we can. And can we validate the attorney's time cards in real time? And we're going to the answer, of course, is yes. And this is brand new stuff. We're really excited for it. In the past, you didn't have solutions like eBillingHub or iTimeKeep. Now you have both, and now you have both together, and that's what we're going to show you today. So what does this mean to your firm? We have to increase compliance with. We have increased compliance with client billing guidelines. We have enhanced relationships. We need to enhance relationships and trust between the attorneys and the client. We need to reduce the man hours that we're spending on this. You can see, especially looking at Brad's very complex chart, that this can get ridiculous and out of hand. And that's what our solutions are here for. And what we want to focus on is how do we reduce the time spent trying to conform to all of this. And then most importantly, along with that, is reducing submissions. If we can decrease the resubmissions, we're going to get the faster payment cycles, meaning that you're not going to hit that 11 days that Brad talked about. It's not going to go from 11 days to 22 days to 33 days every time something has to be resubmitted. So real-time compliance. All this means is that we're allowing the accounting and finance departments to work directly with the attorney to ensure that outside counsel guidelines are met. So we want to make sure that everything's happening, we're catching everything in real time. We're not waiting to catch something later. We're not letting it ever get to that 11-day point that Brad talked about. Now, there's plenty of misconceptions when we're talking about any solution in the legal industry, especially when it comes to e-billing and time entry. And this is by far my favorite one. Attorneys are not tech savvy. And the reason it's my favorite one is because this misconception is all over the industry. Attorneys aren't tech savvy. We're scared to give them tools because we're afraid that they're not going to use it. But the beautiful thing is that the tools that they need to have, they're already using in their everyday life. We talk about iPhones, we talk about Android devices, iPads. These attorneys already have these devices in their hand. They're using apps every day. As soon as they wake up, they're checking the weather. They're calling their kids. They're doing their email. They're savvy enough to handle that, and that's all we need them to do. If they can open an app, then they're able to use it to enter time. if we can get the infrastructure in place to do real-time compliance on e-billing, they don't have to worry about any of that. It's all magic to them. They just have to be able to use the device like they're already using it today. Now, along with that, if say we get past that hurdle, we accept that even the oldest attorneys who have iPhones and can do this, we could say, well, they're never going to use it. They're never going to change their ways, and that's not true either. And think about it think of it this way: we use our phones, and attorneys are no different, regardless of their age, for everything that we do, and it's so convenient and so fast and always in our pocket that we don't have, it's way easier than going onto my computer and even opening Microsoft Word or doing a spreadsheet. So depending on how they're writing down their time now or doing anything else in their day-to-day, it's always easier in an app. And it's easier the second they see that, they're going to take advantage of it because they want things to be easy just like we want things to be easy. This is accounting's responsibility. This is a great one too. This is the firm's responsibility. We want to make sure that things are fast and efficient and that we're not hitting roadblocks at any stage of the way. So we don't want to just blame it on one team. This is a firm effort. And we always did it this way, is one that we do run into with all of these problems all of the time. And that's fine. People do things. People did things a certain way for a very long time because they had to. The phone was connected to the wall. The mail came in once a day. We wrote things down with a piece of paper and a pen. Things are different now, and that's the first step is just saying we now have all of this cool stuff. Let's go with it. So let's talk about the current process. The time entry is made. And from there, it goes off to billing. So we've made our entry. It goes to billing, and they from there they send the bill to the customer or the client. Sorry, the client then rejects it for whatever reason, whatever compliances they had in place. It's rejected, and it comes back to billing. And then billing then has to fix the invoice, send it to the client again, and then there's a chance it's going to be rejected again. So tools like eBillingHub and solutions like that they help solve that problem, but we're going to talk about how we can tie this all together to solve this entire timeline, not just pieces of the timeline. And eventually, sooner or later, we get to client approval, which is our favorite part. So why mobile time entry? And you can read what's on the screen, but it's simple. These devices are always with us. They work the way we want them to work. We have them in our pocket, and we're working all over the place. It's no longer just sitting at your desk. And even if you are sitting at your desk, you need a way of getting it from your entry from yourself to the billing department. And the fastest way is to use the devices that you're already using for everything else. We don't want to introduce anything different. So not only that, not only is it just any device from any location, it needs to be simple and mindless. If this is difficult in any way, people will not use it. So the time entry solution has to be designed to be the easiest thing that they'll possibly do. That's the only way they're ever going to use it. And most importantly, is it needs to be seamless with everything else. We don't want to shake anything up. This has to be a very clean integration. Hey, how are you doing things now? Great. We're going to tie right into that, and we're going to take advantage of what you already have set up. And we're going to talk about that more at the end of this when we get to a demo. So real-time compliance goes mobile, and this is the fun part. This is what we're talking about today. We want to take that validation that Brad was talking about, and we want to introduce it at the earliest step of this problem. You saw that timeline, and everything starts with the time entry. So now we can take where we've been fixing things later in the process and introduce it in the very beginning of the process. So we're glad you guys are all here to see this. We've solved the problem. And essentially what we're doing here is we're introducing that validation the second the time entry is made, then submitting it to the billing system. The billing staff can review it, everybody's happy. We're making this seamless. We're basically taking care of the problem before it ever gets to anyone else, and we're doing that by validating it at the time entry. So let's talk about how this works specifically. So with iTimeKeep, which you will see soon, you make a time entry. In real time, we're taking advantage of eBillingHub's solution to validate those entries. So if I make an entry that doesn't go with the compliance of the client, it's going to tell me instantly. I can then fix the entry, make sure that it is compliant, because it's going to give me the information I need to fix that. It goes off to billing. Great. Billing is, their lives are now changed. They have compliant entries. And then from there, they send it to the client and they pay you. There's no more backtracking. We don't have to resubmit. We're saving ourselves tons of time and effort. So with our solutions, and we're going to show you exactly how this works, but both iTimeKeep and eBillingHub are delivered as a service. We call ourselves Time Entry as a service and eBillingHub Software as a service, but essentially they mean the same thing. And what that means is that you don't have to worry about anything. So once you purchase either of our solutions, or both of them, as we're going to get to in a second, you don't have to worry about anything else. We take care of the support. We don't have additional hardware or software that you have to worry about. There's no overhead to your IT team. We take care of all of the hard stuff for you. That's our jobs. It's why our solutions can be rolled out instantly, and they require very minimum training. You're going to see here in a minute that the time entry side, it takes a minute to learn, and then you're good for a lifetime.
And Mike, if I can jump in just real quick, we don't have any maintenance contracts. All of our training is included with your subscription. That's both for the initial implementation, and then should you need refresher training or you have new hires that come on. In addition to that, we've got a library now of about, I want to say, 3,500 different e-billing templates. If you happen to come across one that you need that we don't have, we will create that for you as well. Again, no charge as a part of your subscription.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. And essentially, this comes down to is anything you need. It's already included. This comes at $0 additional dollars once you have a license for either solution. So let's talk about the benefits of both. So, Brad, if you want to talk about eBillingHub.
Sure. So our clients tell us that after they start using the hub, first of all, they see an increased processing capacity of about 3 to 5x. So their billers are able to do much more than they were able to do manually, obviously. We see a 60% elimination of write-offs and rejections, 11-day acceleration on cash collection, and then a 70% reduction in the cost to process an e-bill versus doing it by hand. And
with iTimeKeep, the biggest benefits there is, and we talked about leakage earlier, but you're preventing that leakage. You're accounting for all of the time that your attorneys are actually are doing, so you can increase your billable hours. We can enter time from anywhere on any device, and we're achieving contemporaneous time entry, and that solves a ton of problems in itself. We're eliminating the reconstruction of time at the end of the month. Even we talk to tons of firms where just the problems when time is due at the end of the month or at the end of the week is that the accounting and billing teams are chasing people down, saying we need to get your time in so we can send it out, and it causes frustrations. It makes a hostile work environment. So we can really make things a lot more pleasant. And when we add both of these together, we're getting compliance on steroids. And I know that sounds silly, but it's true. We're taking two solutions that have made your lives significantly easier, and then we're combining them to make things essentially perfect. There isn't a faster way to achieve compliance than when you're using eBillingHub with iTimeKeep. And let me show you, just if we get a visual of traditional time entry, traditional billing processes, everything's manual. It's long, it's inaccurate, it's tedious. You're leaving room for error, and it just takes so much effort to make these things happen. It's exhausting, and it's when you look at it, the way that we've traditionally have done time entry and billing, it's a huge turnoff. It's not exciting at all. Now, when you bring on a solution like iTimeKeep and eBillingHub, we're eliminating these inefficiencies and we're making everything faster and easier. So we're getting fast and efficient. And when we combine them together, we're getting this real-time compliance that allows everything to work like a well-oiled machine. We're eliminating any redundancy. Everything's happening in real time. So our billing issues are resolved before an invoice is submitted to the client. And this makes the attorney more credible in the eyes of the client. There's nothing worse than getting these to the client and they're not compliant. Real-time compliance also saves the firm time and money, obviously. We're eliminating the write-offs, fewer resubmissions, corrections. So everything's it's working faster and more efficiently, therefore affecting the bottom line. And then client trust and satisfaction. This is a big deal. Your client is trusting you with a lot of responsibility and a lot of their money at the same time. And by making sure that they have a pleasant experience, it makes them a happy customer. So by entering time more accurately, the attorneys now have the ability to better manage their client relationships. We can impact productivity and expand on their contribution to the firm's financial performance. It's no longer just, hey, I've submitted my time, and now it's going to figure itself out somehow through all the magic that happens behind the scenes. The attorney's part of the process. We're fixing the problem before it ever starts. And the coolest thing about this, and I don't want to be cliche, but the spaceship taking off, just represents a lot of technology. So the future's here. We now have solutions and tools that are going to allow our firms to work at the speed of light compared to what we were doing before. Not only that, it's not just fast, it's accurate, and it makes, we can do more and we can do it better. So it sounds cliche, but now's the time to get on board before everybody else is, and then you don't want to be figuring this out down the road after everybody else already has, and then we're on to the next big integration and the next big thing that's going to make things even easier. Right now, this is the fastest way to be compliant. So,
Mike, a quick question here as well. The validation process, is it currently a part of iTimeKeep app, or is that a future function?
That's a fantastic question, and sorry if I didn't see that, but it's not part of the existing app, but this integration is going to be available in the very near future, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But if you are already an iTimeKeep customer, just give us a call and we'll let you know. If you're an iTimeKeep customer and an eBillingHub customer, give us a call and we can start introducing you into it. But essentially, this quarter is going to be available for everybody. We'd be happy to talk to existing customers and new customers. We'll get you more information as well. But it's a great question. But let's get to the fun part. Let's see this actually work. Let me jump out of my show real quick and bring my phone over. So, Brad, just to confirm, everybody can see my phone?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Awesome. So iTimeKeep is it's an app that works on any iPhone, Android, iPad, and we have a browser version as well. And you can actually, you won't be able to do this today, but if you want to check out iTimeKeep, go to your Google or Android store, or I'm sorry, Google or Apple store, and just search for iTimeKeep, download it, and you'll be good to go. You can actually use it as a guest user. So we're going to show you the new integration here. And I'm just going to log in real quick after I open my app. And what I'll do here is I'm going to make a regular time entry so you can see how it works. And after that, we're going to make an entry that's not compliant. It's taking advantage of the eBillingHub integration. Let me there we go. So let's go ahead and make an entry. To do that, I hit the plus sign. And you're able to do this on the existing app today, so check it out for yourself. I click matter. And I'll search my system for a matter, or if I've been using iTimeKeep, it will show me any matter that I've been working on in the past 30 days, and I can select it from that suggested matters list. So for now, I'll just choose one. I'll do type in a 0.2 Today's date's automatically filled in. And if we're doing task-based billing, any codes that we require are going to be prompted here as well. So I'll go ahead and choose some codes. And then for the description, I could type email with client, or as any attorney, I like to hear the sound of my own voice. So I can hit the microphone, read an email from the client, period, had a follow-up call discussing the matter, period. I hit save. And that's how easily we can make an entry. Now, let's go ahead and make an entry that's not compliant with what our client expects. So I'm going to make another entry here. I hit the plus sign. You notice it had that filled in automatically, but I'll just select the matter again, and that's just because I had it selected the first time. We'll go ahead and do a point 2. Today's date's already filled in. For codes, we'll go ahead and choose some codes. And I'm going to, in this particular case, our client doesn't want us using the word research. So I'm going to enter the word research, but I want to show you another cool feature of the new version of iTimeKeep is that I can do shortcuts. So if I type in RD space, it changes to research and development. So it just makes our lives a little bit easier. I hit save. And at this point, once I save, it comes back to the My Time screen, and I have a red dot. So that means there's an error. If I go back into this entry, you're going to see up top, it says eBilling error. I click that, and it tells me exactly what the error is. So the description cannot contain the word research. So I can go ahead and change this, hit done, and hit save. So now the red dot went away. I fixed the problem before the entry ever went in. So let's say that there's multiple problems. What does that look like? Let's make one more entry. I hit the plus sign. We have our matter again, but just to show you, we can choose it. A creature of habit, so I'm going to use a point 2 one more time. Now let's say I use the code that I'm not supposed to use for this matter. So I choose the first code, which I'm not allowed to use. And then I'll do research and development again. I hit save. Notice we got the red dot. Awesome. So let's see what that is. And up top, we have multiple e-billing errors. So when I tap this, it's going to tell us L100 is no longer acceptable. And then also that the description cannot change the word research. So great. Now that I know that, I can change these. So we'll just call this, and we'll just remove the word research. I hit save. We're now compliant.
Mike, a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Are these entries in the billing system real time as soon as they've been saved, or is it a batch?
So as soon as I hit submit, it submits any entry that we have into the billing system in real time. So the second that the attorney hits submit, it's going to submit everything that's compliant instantly. Anything that's not compliant, it's going to show that red dot. It's going to give them the opportunity to fix it. So Jennifer asked, can we customize the error descriptions? Great question. That would be, Brad, on the e-billing side, are we able to customize the alerts that they get for compliance?
I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you.
Jennifer, that's a great question. Let me
take that away and see if those alerts can be customized.
Yeah. Awesome. I wrote that down as well.
Customized somewhat from the rules, obviously. You know, we have to adhere to the specific billing guidelines, but beyond that, I need to double check.
Cool. We'll follow up on our side as well. Great question, Jennifer.
A couple of other questions here as well. So it won't submit a non-compliant entry. So there's no way if you don't change and you don't correct it, it won't submit it. Is that correct?
If we have a non-compliant entry, we can't submit it. That's correct, but what we can do is on our side is, on the administrator side of iTimeKeep, they can see that there are non-compliant entries out there and why they're non-compliant.
Okay. We got a few questions here. Let me look through. When you submit an entry, is it finalized in this
awesome
view? Yeah,
awesome question. So it's not finalized. If you want it to be finalized, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. But essentially, when you hit submit, they go in as unfinalized. So we're not changing anything in the billing, in that side of the billing process. Your the legal assistants in billing and accounting can still go in there and clean up anything they need to and finalize it before they send it off to the client. So from iTimeKeep to your billing system, it is not finalized.
And then are shortcuts set up per user or firm-wide?
The new shortcuts, that's a great question there. I believe it's firm-wide, but let me follow up with you on that. Who asked that question? Cool. So
let me find that. Yep, I'll get that to you.
Great. So yeah, now the cool thing is with iTimeKeep today, you can take advantage of the shortcuts in your iPhone or on your Android device to add that functionality per user. But the new release will allow you to do it firm-wide. But I'll follow up with the specifics on that.
Yeah, I'm also getting John kind of weighed in. He said the new ones are firm-wide.
Okay. Awesome, John. Thank you. So it's firm-wide, and again, every individual phone can be customized to do shortcuts as well on the OS side outside of iTimeKeep. So I see here we have a few other questions. Does the iTimeKeep app work the same way with Jira Suite, with the red dots for errors, or only with eBillingHub? So this integration for compliancy is with eBillingHub. So the real-time compliance is the eBillingHub integration specifically. Will it allow associates to adjust their rates for entries like travel time, where guidelines only allow half rate for travel? So that the iTimeKeep side is not we're not worried about any of the rates, but what we worry about is what you require for time entry. So if you have a required code that reflects travel, then you'll be able to take care of that on the billing side, if that makes sense, because the entry will reflect that it's travel. Everything else can happen on the billing side. You're not adjusting your rate on the iTimeKeep side. You're simply making a time entry. So, and there's a follow-up question about verifying rates. That's all on the billing side. Our concern is making these time entries simple and painless, and then the specifics can happen on the other side. And I'd be happy to discuss that more as well.
And then did you address, do you have an integration with ProLaw version 11?
ProLaw? Yeah, definitely. So we have an integration with ProLaw. iTimeKeep, I'm glad that came up. It's a pretty important detail. We integrate with over 20 major billing systems. So if you're a firm of more than a handful of people, then most likely you're using a billing system that we integrate with. And I'm happy to talk with anybody about the different integrations that we have, and the cool thing is that regardless of what you're using, it's the same experience in iTimeKeep every time. This is my contact information, my phone number, and this is Brad's. Brad, did you see any other questions? I don't see any on my side.
Yep, I think I've got them all answered.
Great, and then with just so everybody knows, you can get our information from the website. There's a great question that came in. Can you get a copy of this presentation? We actually recorded this, and we will be doing some quick editing, and we'll have it up this week. I don't see why we won't have it up. So we'll send out a follow-up email to everyone registered. You'll see this presentation. You'll have our contact information, but definitely write down our phone numbers if you're interested in taking advantage of those promotions. Write those down and give us a call today. A lot of people here already have eBillingHub or iTimeKeep or possibly both. So even if you're an existing customer, we want to talk to you guys and let you know about the integration and how we can get you started with it. Great, thanks, Brad. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for your time. This is great. We had a great turnout. We'll send that follow-up email, and we look forward to hearing from you.